Hello everyone and welcome to another StarCraft 2 cast by Glitch. This is going to be a ZVZ on MLG Shattered Temple. You can tell this is MLG Shattered Temple by the neutral supply depot that is placed at the bottom of the ramp that prevents any kind of early cannoning in or any kind of weird early, I don't know, bunker rushes and that kind of thing right at the bottom of the ramp. This is going to be a ZVZ between two extremely good Korean Zerg players. Spawning in the 12 o'clock position, we have the Red Zerg Moon from the Korean team We Made Fox. Spawning in the, I guess, 2 o'clock position, we have JulyZerg from the team Startail. This is going to be a ZVZ. This is cast from, it's a little bit older of a cast. I believe it's from MLG Columbus. Or, sorry, yes, MLG Columbus, that is correct. I was thinking DreamHack there for a second. Both of these players did play in DreamHack, and both of these players did really well at DreamHack. Both of these players, I think, were in the top 5 at DreamHack. Both players just did very well. This is a ZVZ. The reason I'm casting it is because this week I'm doing Mirror Matchup Week. Yeah! All my games this week, I realized at some point that I have not done a whole lot of Mirror Matchups in my casting, so I decided, you know what, this week we're only going to do Mirror Matchup Weeks. And for some reason I couldn't find any good ZVZs that were really recent. So I went for a little bit older of a game, and went for this this older one from MLG Columbus that I did miss, so I've decided to recast it. It is originally casted out there by, man, who casted this game originally? I'm not sure who originally casted this game, but yeah, it's out there cast by the pros. If you wanna see the pros casting this, you know, by someone who's awesome, then go check those out. I'm not sure where exactly you can find them, but they're out there somewhere, and you can find them not too hard. Search for MLG Columbus, it will come up. Alright, now, getting into this game. This is going to be a best of 3, so I will be casting the series, so, yeah, tune in. Try to find those other videos. So both players, interestingly enough, both went for a quick hatch. This is kind of unusual already to see in ZVZ. You don't often see players go for the quick hatch. It's very risky, seeing as the other player may just go for a quick pool and just rush the heck out of you, and then you have nothing but a hatchery to defend with. And that's never a good thing. But both players spawned in close positions here, so both players were able to get their overlords to the others pretty quick and easy, and were able to see, I believe it was Moon that threw down his expansion first. So once JulyZerg saw that Moon had thrown down his expansion, he threw down his expansion of his own, and now both players just droning up like mad. Both players completely even on harvesters right now, 20 to 20 harvesters on both sides. Both players have a spawning pool down, and both players are researching that metabolic boost, that is Zergling speed. That will give those Zerglings that extra little boost of speed that they need to do that crazy little micro that these Korean players love. Both players, man, almost identical in builds right now. Both players, Zergling speed is almost precisely on the same timing. And we do have a Roachwarren here coming down for JulyZerg. Roachwarren is a very typical play by most Zerg players in ZVZ. I would say that Roaches are probably the backbone of all ZVZ. And we do have a few Lings here moving across the field now for JulyZerg that are trying to move into the base of Moon. But all these Zerglings here from Moon are going to deny those Zerglings any kind of scouting into the main. I don't believe they got too far into that main. They did not see that Roachwarren that is now coming up for Moon, so both players now producing a Roachwarren, so both players will be getting some Roaches. Wouldn't be surprised to also see some layer tech coming up shortly, and some infestors on the way. Infestors are the other staple backbone unit right now for ZVZ matchups. It's very common to get those Roaches out and then go for some quick infestors, and generally the player that gets those infestors up first tends to be the ones that win those early fights. So those infestors are just so good at doing a lot of damage early and just pinning units in place, allowing roaches to come in and do that good damage. Some Zerglings from JulyZerg running into the base of Moon. Looks like not going to try to do any damage. Looks like he just wants to get some scouting information, make sure there's nothing too screwy going on. Things that you want to watch out for specifically in this matchup. You want to go, especially if you're going for this this roach style of play. I want to say roach infestor style of play, but there's no infestation pit down yet. There is a lair coming up though. Things you want to scout for when you are going for that style of play. Mutalisks. Mutalisks are the big thing that you definitely do not want to see when you are going with those roaches. Or if you do see them quick mutas, you do want to get those infestors out faster if you want to stick to that roach infestor style of play, because it is possible to hold off Mutalisks with infestors, because with infestors I believe it's 3 fungal growths can kill a Mutalisk. I could be wrong on that one. Someone correct me if I'm wrong on that one, but especially if the Mutalisks tend to all group up, you can kill quite a lot of Mutalisks with just a few fungal growths. And so if you are a Mutalisking player in ZVZ, you always have to be very careful of those infestors. Either try to keep your units a little more spread out, or just don't use those Mutalisks. Yeah. Alright, so both players now have the double Evo chamber going down. Both players researching missile attacks and carapace for those ground units, and both players almost identically timed on this. So we have, I wasn't kidding when I called this a mirror matchup. Both players really are doing almost the identical build. I think a lair has now come up for JulyZerg, which is a little ahead of Moon's, who got his a little bit later. JulyZerg's has been up for a little while now. Glial Reconstitution now coming up for JulyZerg. That is that roach speed. I don't know if Moon has his yet. Does Moon have his? No, Moon is just starting his now. So Moon is just a little bit behind on tech here, just a tad. Both players destroying the destructible rocks there to their gold expansions. JulyZerg already there, already has his expansion going down at his gold, and he is moving out with this small group of roaches. Moon is aware of this attack. He does have these nicely placed overlords all along these attack paths. This is something you always want to do as a Zerg player, since it is very common, at least in the early to mid game, to have just ground units and nothing that can shoot up. It is nice to have these overlords that are placed all along the attack paths, and they can be pretty safe there. This is something that's very common to do. You can't do this against Terran players because those Marines will shoot them down, and you can't do it against Protoss because them Stalkers will shoot them down, but you definitely in ZVZ want to get those early overlords just all the way along the attack paths there. So I like this overlord placement by both players. A third has now just come up for Moon, and he is going to be, droning up just a little bit to get some drones saturated in that third base. Meanwhile, he is pushing out just a little bit to make sure that his third expansion is safe. Not a lot of creep spread right now from either player. Creep spread not too terribly important in ZVZ. In the other matchups, obviously you want the vision and the movement speed so that you can get around the map quite quickly, but you have to remember in ZVZ that creep gives your opponent's movement speed as well. So if he had creep spread here going all the way across the map to out here, that would just mean that JulyZerg could just run straight into Moon's base. So there isn't a lot of creep spread. I do like to connect my bases though. I have to say that allows you to go between your own bases quite quickly. And nice little corruption there. Contamination rather. Sorry, I always get those mixed up. Both C words, both very similar, and I always get corruption and contaminate screwed up. Infestation pits have now come down for both players, and both players getting some of those infestors. Both players also getting that 2-2 upgrade, so both players getting very fast upgrades on their roaches, and JulyZerg swinging around here for an attack to the third of Moon. I believe, yes, he has scouted that third going up, but he hasn't done anything about it, and he is now gotten a gold base of his own, and he is now trying to drone up a little bit and get some saturation on that gold base. Now Moon really is going to need to expand soon, or attack if he really wants to stay even with JulyZerg on this base, because once he gets this base saturated, he's going to be able to do he's just going to be able to macro up quite a large army with that extra income there. He is breaking down the rocks now to the back door of Moon's third, but Moon does have his overlords well placed here, and he does see them breaking down this door. Meanwhile, JulyZerg is moving into the natural of Moon. Again, Moon sees this with his excellent overlord placement, but he's going to have to split his army just a little bit. Lings and just a few Lings and some Roaches now moving across the field, and there are Infestors down for both players, so it is all going to come down to fungal growths. Excellent fungal growths there by JulyZerg, but very nice fungal growths here also coming down for Moon. The Concave right now is just about dead even, so both players here doing a lot of damage, but I think there's just too many Roaches here for Moon to be able to handle, and Moon is forced to retreat. More fungal growth there going down for Moon, and no more Infestors are up for JulyZerg, so it looks like Moon is going to now take the lead in the Roach count, and his Roaches are going to be able to clean up this attack, but I think it is going to be very, very close. Infestors, all these Infestors are very low on energy. No more fungal growths can go down, but JulyZerg's Infestors are also very low, and we have an Overseer coming in. Very good play there by JulyZerg, just a nice little touch. This is going to allow any kind, this will negate any kind of burrow micro that Moon might go for, just in case these Roaches burrow. JulyZerg is getting that Overseer to scout any Overlords or any burrowed Roaches. Those Roaches now pulling back with his Infestors now. Looks like he is producing a lot more Roaches coming onto the field, and some Zerglings, interestingly enough. A lot of Roaches, a lot of Zerglings coming out onto the field. The burrow is up. He will need to burrow these Roaches to try to heal him back up, because he has a few weak ones here. I don't know if he has scouted. Yes, he has scouted this gold expansion, so he knows that gold expansion is there. He's going to try to sneak around for an attack, but there's a lot of Roaches here. I don't think he's going to be able to do too much against this attack. He is committing to this attack, though. He has pushed in. He's got a lot of infested Terrans coming out onto the field here. A lot of Roaches streaming in, doing more damage, more Roaches being rallied across the field. You can see on the mini-map that there are more Lings coming into the field, but this is a lot of units here, and oh man, Moon might actually be able to break this attack. JulyZerg also has his infested Terrans up on the field. Upgrades are dead even right now at 2-2, but this is a lot of Roaches here for Moon. Moon is doing very well here. Moon is pushing in. JulyZerg is trying to rally more Roaches, but Moon is way ahead in the food count right now. Those Roaches are just streaming in. He has managed to pull all the... JulyZerg, rather, has managed to pull all the... drones from that gold base, and this means that JulyZerg is going to be on 2 base, and this base is going to go down, meaning that Moon is going to be ahead both in food count and in bases. This is a huge hit to JulyZerg. JulyZerg is really going to need to expand to this bottom expansion if he's going to want to keep up in econ. He really needs to get some Roaches up here, maybe some Spine Crawlers. He really needs to get some defenses up quick, but this is a lot of forces for Moon that are streaming into the base of JulyZerg, and JulyZerg is forced to pull all his drones coming off the line to come try to defend this attack against all these Roaches, but there are more just Roaches and Lings from Moon, and I don't think JulyZerg is going to be able to hold this attack. That is just a lot of Roaches coming in. Though I have to admit, JulyZerg is doing a good job of producing a lot of Roaches. Oh man, but Moon is just constantly producing more Roaches, more Infestors coming out onto the field as well for both players. JulyZerg lost a lot of drones, though. I think if we check out the Harvester count right now, 68 to 26 drones. There is no way JulyZerg is going to be able to sustain this defense, and there is a very good chance of Moon being able to sustain his attack. So he is going to be able to do a lot of damage with this. There are a lot of Roaches here for JulyZerg, and JulyZerg actually has managed to hold off this attack for the time being. Looks like Moon has decided, though, to push in with his Infestor, manages to get a nice fungal growth out there on most of those Roaches for JulyZerg, and is again starting to push into the natural of JulyZerg, and I don't think JulyZerg is going to be able to hold it off this time, and there is the GG from JulyZerg. Well played by Moon. Was able to do a nice little attack there before this gold expansion had been mining too long. Basically just defended an attack there by JulyZerg, and then just pushed right back into JulyZerg's base and was able to outproduce JulyZerg. He had been mining on that third for longer than JulyZerg was mining on this gold, and was able to just defend an attack. Very nicely played by Moon. So we now have a one up for Moon, and that means we are going to go into Game 2 of Moon versus JulyZerg from MLG Columbus 2011. Back in a minute.